Kyle, welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I thought you'd be a very interesting person to speak with about a topic I had in mind. The topic being for business owners. I'm calling this one Common SEO Challenges Your Business Will Face. And, businesses, once they invest in SEO, they almost sometimes think it will be an SEO problem, but don't necessarily see it as an overall business problem. So I just want to ensure that some business owners who may or may not have this rhetoric about SEO in mind realize, or should I say, consider the reality of SEO. Just before the main topic, as I like to do with all my guests, I like to ask them how they became an SEO professional. So with that said, what's the story of how you became an SEO professional?
The very short version is I used to be an attorney. I was a trial attorney. I did divorce, custody, and support, and a little criminal defense. And I took a year off. Actually, my wife was also an attorney. She also did criminal defense, and she also took a year off. And that year off sabbatical took us to South Korea, and we were teaching English to kindergartners, which was great. It was definitely a lower level of responsibility than people going to jail. But while there, we started a business with a Korean business partner. We had to create a very complex website. And through that, I had a team of developers that were quite good. And then I started general contracting website building. And then from there, got into the marketing aspect of it. I learned about this thing called SEO. And I was like, they're paying us for the websites. Maybe we can get like another $100 a month out of them for this SEO thing. I don't know. And then few twists and turns, but in the end, that I didn't continue with the web design and development, but continued with the SEO aspect of it, and initially kind of freelanced SEO, if you will, and then found my business partner, and we formed the agency High Voltage SEO.
What do you think it is about SEO that made you stick with it, as opposed to other things you were doing, even law? It's quite a big difference.
Yeah, law is a social, it grinds your soul down, and your worst day in SEO, like nobody goes to jail. It's like nobody's losing their children today in SEO, and there aren't really any SEO emergencies either. There may be website issues like, hey, this site is down or this page is down, but there's really no such thing as an SEO emergency, which really kind of allows the travel that I do. I live in Thailand, and I'm an international speaker on SEO, so I travel all around the world. I just got back from Australia, and I'll be going to Poland in a couple weeks, and then after that, the UK, back to the US for a little bit. You can't do that as an attorney. You can't do that as a teacher usually either. Those are you're pretty locked into where you are. But the freedom aspect of SEO has just been absolutely tremendous. And then something that I think that's pretty interesting about SEO is that it's completely performance based. If you perform, if you're good, you get paid. You can get a job and you can work for yourself. And there's really not anybody that you have to, answer to other than the clients or if they're your own sites yourself then. But really at the end of the day, it is, the cream will rise to the top, and it gives you the opportunity to do it. And I don't think there's any ceiling either. The ceiling is just something you're going to put on yourself in terms of how much you can make or how you can make it, or kind of what income streams you have. But otherwise it is, people that can do it well will get paid well. And if you invest time and energy into it, you can actually get a really great return. And I don't think you can get that in anything else, at least not that I have access to or that I've seen.
Yeah, it's quite a unique business, and one that attracts people who love the freedom of being able to work where they want. So yes, it's definitely an industry that attracts certain people who, one, like the ability to travel and work for themselves and be their own boss, essentially. High Voltage. I'm curious, is there a story to this as well? HV SEO?
The name, you mean? Or
Yeah,
the,
both the name and also how it came about and why you set it up.
um, my business partner, he actually hired me for an SEO project, like on Elancer way back in the day or something like that. And we worked on that project,
Yeah.
and then we worked on a few other projects. And then it was kind of like, should we just start an agency? And I was like, yeah, I think we should. And so Andy is from Melbourne, and at the time he lived in Berlin, and he was kind of splitting time where he would do German winters in Australia, and then he'd do the rest of his time in Berlin. And I was
Nice.
in San Francisco at the time. And so we immediately had a multinational company, um, even though there were just the two of us and like one VA. But it looked very sexy that we could put like the different addresses down. I think that really kind of helped us get some larger named clients when we weren't necessarily that big of an agency just yet. Um, we've now expanded to Jamaica too, so now we have 4 locations. Post COVID, we used to have actual offices that people would go to, but post COVID, we went completely remote, and we were a hybrid workplace anyway. And so going completely remote wasn't really an issue for us because we were built for that as it is. So we don't necessarily have any physical offices that anybody goes to anymore, but we do have people in each of those locations. But the name High Voltage comes from the song High Voltage from Electric Six. Danger, High Voltage.
Okay.
You should look it up.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
think I'll
unfamiliar with the
Google it
song,
after this.
you're in for a treat. You're in for a real treat.
I'll Google it
I'll
after
just leave it at
this.
that.
Okay.
It's not anything that you will be expecting whatsoever. And yeah, it's a great song.
Okay. I'll Google them after this. Google the lyrics. Now,
It's awesome.
business owners, I've noticed, I should say some, I don't want to classify all business owners thinking this way, but I would say the majority of business owners view SEO as like a black magic mystical thing, right? And I noticed on your website, you regard SEO as a science, which I found to be a very interesting way of viewing SEO. Can you elaborate on this view of SEO? Because it's quite a unique rhetoric, even within the SEO industry.
When I started doing SEO, I do the search, like, is this a ranking factor, or should I do this? And you get like 3 yeses and 3 nos and 3 maybes. And I realized that's not great. That's not going to help me learn anything. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Everybody's just running their own test sites. That's how they do this. So I put together some test sites, and then I brainstormed some ways on how you can actually test Google's algorithm. I actually now have a U.S. patent on that, on the method for determining if something is or is not a ranking factor. And through that testing, I realized some things quite quickly. One is that Google can't read. Google is amazing and powerful and just one of the most amazing things that's ever been created. And you want to think of it as a human. And you want to think of it as a human characteristics, but it's an algorithm. It is math. And really what it comes down to is that Google can't read. Google isn't looking at the page the same way that you are looking at the page, the way that humans would read or process words. It's doing it in a way that an algorithm does. And what I realized is that you need to give the algorithm the math that it wants. And once you do that, you can be very, very successful. Now, words do matter on the page when you want to get conversion and when you want somebody to come and do that thing that you want them to do. Whether that's, sign up for your newsletter or click to another page or pay you some money or whatever that conversion point might be, that's where your good copy comes in. But that's not going to help you rank. And I think business owners learn that quickly. I don't know how many times I've heard from like a small business owner and they're like, I know my product is better than what's ranking right now in Google.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my copy is better than what's there. You can objectively see it. They're not bragging about it. They're like, you can objectively see that this is better content. Sometimes they're like, 2 of these sites that are ranking, they don't even have the product.
Yeah.
So they learn quite quickly that it's not, it's not good content. It's not a value judgment. Is this actually better than that? What it is, an algorithm doing a mathematical equation to decide if it likes this page or not. And so that, I think, really demystifies a lot of it, in that it's not, Google isn't making any value judgments as to this site is better than that site, or this product is better than that product, or this copy is better than that copy. It's just, does this site have more signals that I like than that site, that makes it for the algorithm to like that page more. That's really what it comes down to. And so when you can kind of boil it down into that concept, they're like, oh, okay, this isn't me necessarily having a better product. It's me satisfying this algorithm to show up higher in the search results. And then once they get there, then I can have that good copy, then they will get the conversion. But focusing on two different aspects of it: one, getting to rank in the first place, and then having copy that'll convert. But if you don't have that ranking copy in the first place, you're never going to show up in Google at all.
Interesting. On your site, you also state another, I would say, something that caught my eye. You say your website is your business's most valuable asset. I'm curious to find out what your response to this would be. What would you say is SEO's involvement with this asset?
Sure. If you have a beautiful website and you don't do any SEO to it, it's the same as having a beautiful neon sign for your business and putting it in the basement. Like, it's going to do absolutely nothing for you. It's going to look great. And if people come down to the basement, they will see it and they will like it. But otherwise, it's not doing much for your business. And so SEO is the kind of thing that can help illuminate your business, get it out there on the web. Because who isn't online anymore? Even the last holdouts are all now, because of the pandemic, are all definitely online. From an SEO perspective, from a business SEO perspective, the pandemic was amazing for our business, because people who were a little bit reluctant, maybe they were advertising in billboards or something like that. When nobody's driving by the billboards, they need to find another way to advertise, and that's online. And SEO isn't the be all to end all in terms of online marketing. There are several different ways to do online marketing, but it is a very significant channel. And as a result, across all of your marketing endeavors, it's going to be a significant channel.
So with the clients that you work with, I'm sure you see common themes, especially when it comes to SEO challenges. Can you share some of the challenges you see businesses go through? Let's say let's start from a strategic point of view.
Just out of the gate, people struggle getting content on their websites.
Yeah.
That's a massive problem. You can give them all the content that you can, but if it doesn't go on the site, it doesn't matter. The only page that can't rank is the page that doesn't exist. And so when some larger businesses, and even some medium-sized businesses, have issues where this part of their company controls this part of the website, and this part of the company controls that part of the website. Maybe they call them stakeholders, which is a term that I really hate. Well, we can't change that because this department, they're stakeholders in that part of the web. That makes no sense to me. So kind of trying to find the path of least resistance, because you need to get content on the site. Finding the way to get content done quickly, wherever that might be on the site, is usually a big step one. But from a business perspective, if you're looking at making things better, can you get a piece of copy done in a day and up on the website in a day? Can you get multiple pieces of copy up? If you cannot, that's something that I would change immediately. And also make sure that there are multiple people that have the ability to get content on. If the bottleneck is just like one developer is the only person that can get content on the site or make small tweaks to the site, that's also something that's a huge problem. You need to have multiple people that can get stuff up, and as soon as you have copy that's ready to go, that it can get live on the site immediately.
What is it about stakeholders, or the term stakeholders, that you're not so keen on?
The term is fine. It's just you end up with people that have no idea what they're doing, and they're in charge of the website. And so, like, if you have somebody that's not part of, say, the marketing and development team, and then you're trying to explain to them why you need to get a particular keyword in a title tag, when they're like, well, that doesn't look nice, or I think it looks better this way. Like, well, it doesn't matter what you think or how you feel. It's if we don't get this term here, we're not going to rank this page. And I've often found that there will be several groups of stakeholders that have no concept of what SEO is in the first place. So then you have to do a whole bunch of education, and that's a waste of time. Like, you shouldn't have to educate somebody about why it's important to put terms on a page. But that does often happen when you have these different stakeholding groups, and then you're going to have somebody that's super reluctant to make any kind of changes because they think it looks pretty, or think it looks nice, or they don't want to get any more copy, into their area or something silly like that. But and then also in any business, there are like these rivalries that come up. Our department's doing this or that, and then so as you come in as the SEO to say, hey, it would be really great if we can do this, and then they're making they're fighting another battle, and it's just coming out on the SEO side of whether or not they're going to get this content up.
Yeah. Internal conflict within businesses is a very interesting area to me, because I always say you can tell how unified a business is by just looking at the website. And especially the bigger the website, the more clear it is that, okay, these people are, or this business has factions or units, business units or stakeholders that operate in completely different ways. And you can tell that they almost don't want each other interfering in their area, their piece of the pie, the pie being the website. So one area of the site might be performing well, another area might be performing very badly and doing very dodgy stuff, right? Terrible stuff that is affecting the entire website. But trying to convince the business that this is not good for business is an uphill battle. And I find that it's always SEOs who are stuck in that battle, because SEO, as you know, is very much integrated with having the websites. And if the entire domain is affected, that's a problem for SEO, and it's a problem for the business. And trying to explain this to businesses can be such an arduous task sometimes, and it affects the implementation part of SEO, because you have the strategy in place, you have recommendations in place, but it's literally just sitting collecting digital dust, because the business is not able to implement for various reasons. What do you think businesses should be doing to help with the implementation when it comes to SEO recommendations, or even SEO strategy?
Well, I think it's a pretty quick sit down. Like, all right, there's somebody that has to make a final decision. And it can't be fractioned. Between it's like we're either doing this or we're not. Kind of thing, and make those types of decisions. But, in any business, you want A players, right? And they're the ones that are going to get things done. But as soon as you have one B player, it's easy to get comfortable with them just being okay. But then in the end, they really drag everybody else down. And it's the same thing too. If you've got one group of stakeholders, even though they might be A players in their job, if they're holding things back, if they're mediocre with the website, they're just going to pull everything else down as well. And so I think in the same way that you would eliminate a B player from your team, because ultimately that's going to cost your business a lot, you want to do the same thing with these groups or these stakeholders. If you've got a group that is a B group, essentially, you need to modify things as quickly as possible, and you're just losing money by not taking care of that.
Yeah, it's usually a case of the reality of poor SEO hits the business, i.e., they lose all their visibility or the most part of it, and then they realize. But that is such a reactive way of managing SEO. SEO being a main asset to your overall asset being the website, all right? What would you suggest to businesses to become more, be more proactive with SEO rather than waiting for an algorithm update or release or something that their competitors have done that's worsened their visibility? What can they do to be more proactive with their SEO?
Well, when it comes to not getting hit by updates, or like kind of making sure that you are ahead of the game, at least as far as Google goes, a lot of that comes to larger sites do better. And sites that have a good content strategy where they're continually posting, they're regularly posting, and they're posting things that are supporting their target pages. Say a target page is like a main page you want somebody to go to. You're going to have a lot of pages that are supplementary. And I call those supporting pages. And having a plan in place where you're pumping out content at a regular clip that will support those target pages is going to help you with evergreen growth, one, but two, it's also going to help any kind of Google updates that happens. What I found is if you can out research your competition, so you're actually relying less on SEO and you're relying more on research, you can Google update proof your sites and you can set yourself up for long-term growth. And so what we try to do in the agency and what I try to teach is how to do research so that you can actually do less SEO. You know, in a sense, you know, these are the pages that we need on the site. And if we can do that, you're significantly less susceptible to any updates. And usually when an update happens, you grow. You know, like that's usually updates are usually a good thing because you know your competitors are the ones that didn't know how to do the research. You know, they're in the dark, and so they're relying on things that are susceptible to updates, like say a lot of backlinks, for example. You know, if you are building a site that's just completely on backlinks, you will get hit by an update. That's just how it's going to go. There's going to be a point where Google doesn't like that link anymore. If you're built on a research-based content strategy, you're much less likely to be hit by any kind of update, and you can get some long-term growth. So I think that kind of answers both of it. One is if you're getting that out there, you're staying ahead of Google because you're less likely to be hit. And when updates happen, you'll probably go up. But then also if you're doing that research, you're getting out ahead of your competitors because you're just out researching them. You're getting the pages up that need to be up to support those target pages or those main money pages on your site. And in doing that, you're going to stay ahead of your competitors as well.
Do you find that the bigger a business, the more difficult it is to have SEO established as a process within that business? So the ways of working with SEO is it's non-existent.
Yeah, a lot of times the larger the business you're working with, the more they just like to have the idea that you're around, not necessarily that they're doing anything.
Yeah,
I've seen that before, but excuse me. It's interesting. Some businesses, some larger businesses, the ones that are really well structured, as soon as you make recommendations and they're like, okay, we like this, we're on board, they can really get it going because they have good structure internally. You know, and then you can really see that. The ones that struggle with that, the ones that don't implement, are the ones that don't have that great of internal structure. You know, that's probably, maybe it's not an SEO problem, it's just an internal structure problem. And SEO is just kind of pointing out one aspect of this larger issue for a company, and that they just haven't structured things appropriately, where they can get through the decision-making process into the all the way through to the implementation process. It's probably a larger issue within the company. It's not just on the SEO.
Yeah, I find that SEO, I always look at it almost as two levels. One level is optimizing the site. Another level, a secondary level, is optimizing people. So essentially having a process in place, having SEO incorporated within the marketing mix. It's very strange that even to this day, well, I say strange, but the more I think about it, and I ponder on this quite often, because this is my thing, right? I love thinking about the way businesses wield SEO. I think it's because SEO is so new within marketing that it's seen as a baby, a child, and it's added to that is the idea that it's a black magical thing. So it's a child that people are not necessarily keen to embrace. And because of that, it's left to SEOs, which, as you know, is not the ideal way, because, you know, it takes more than SEO to make SEO a success, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be struggling with implementation. What do you think businesses can do to help SEO processes internally? Because I see that as a bigger issue than optimizing a website.
Would that just be education in your mind? Like education on the
Yeah,
value of what
yeah,
we're doing and maybe
big area.
the why of what
Yeah,
we're doing it? Probably.
yeah.
Because as far as I know, and this could be untrue, but I don't really think anybody has a degree in SEO, right? Like I don't think a university, you know, maybe there's an
No.
oddball one here or there, but like I don't think, and nobody's graduating with a bachelor's in SEO. Obviously, there's a bachelor's in marketing, there are bachelor's in communication, there are bachelor's in English and writing and journalism, those types of things, and those are often within the marketing sphere, and people have degrees in those, but maybe the issue is because there isn't like a standardized this is what SEO is, and I've gone through this rigorous 4-year program to get my degree in SEO. Maybe that's where a lot of the hesitation comes from. I can also say in the more than a decade that I've been doing SEO has been dying every minute. Like every minute I turn around like SEO is dead for whatever reason.
All right.
And not only has it not died, exactly. Not only has it not died, it's grown exponentially.
Yeah.
So perhaps a lack of like a standardized way for SEO or like how to think about SEO coming from like a university background, plus the stigma that SEO is a flash in the pan, will be gone soon anyway. Kind of add those together. Maybe that's where you get a lot of resistance to SEO concepts.
Yeah, I envision a world where everyone, SEOs and non-SEOs alike, um, understand and utilize SEO the way everyone does with social media. That's what I see in the distant future, and I think that they will come. I want that vision to be realized. I think within the industry, there's a huge push for education for SEOs. I find that it's usually targeted at SEOs or aspiring SEOs, but there is a huge pool, an even bigger pool of non-SEOs who need to have a certain level of understanding of SEO, not necessarily to be an SEO. We're not trying to train them to become an SEO, but train them to understand SEO so they don't inadvertently create issues for the SEO channel. You know, a writer understand why, a copywriter understand why we target keywords and why we ask for keywords to be within the copy. Little things like that it goes a long way. What's your take on the whole education for SEO or for non-SEOs?
Well, in my experience, 90% of negative SEO is self-inflicted. You know, where somebody was like, well, I'll just turn this off. What's it going to do?
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, like this part of the website tanks, and then like I look around, like, did anybody do anything in the last week? But to your point, it probably comes from some basic education is needed. Like before we push a button, you know, maybe we should ask around real quick.
Yeah.
I was with one company and all of a sudden their GMB their knowledge panel was claimed, and it turned into they were a mattress company, and their knowledge panel all of a sudden they were a piano tuner. And like because they for whatever reason decided to let it go. They're like, we don't really want to maintain that, and so they just killed it. And then a competitor immediately claimed their listing and then turned them into a piano tuner, you know, like Oakland, California or something that, which is hilarious. But then that also really undid a lot of the work to, you know, to optimize their business profile and all the citations that we did and all that work to build them up. And it was just like one click of a button. One day somebody just decided to do it because they didn't think that it was necessary or needed. And it's just like, whew. So yeah, I think some general education, basic education too. Like you said, you're not trying to turn people into SEOs, but just so they understand a little bit of what we're trying to accomplish, so they know not to do those types of things would be really good.
Yeah. How much SEO awareness would you say a business owner ideally should have?
Well, what you really want to do is you want to have a marketing team, right? Most business owners are not good marketers. They are good at running their business, or they're good at the product they created, or they're good at the service they're providing. And it would be best if they're focusing on that and they have somebody else handling the marketing. Now, even like medium-sized businesses, especially like law firms, you'll have like the person that's the owner, like the managing partner that's at the ownership level, and they run it like a small mom and pop kind of a business. And so I think I don't know that they necessarily need education, but what a lot of these businesses need is a marketing department. You've got, okay, these 2-3 people, it doesn't have to be a huge thing, are the ones that are actually in charge of the marketing. All the communication goes through them with any external providers that they might be using. And then they're the ones that then speak with the C-level or the ownership level team to explain what the plan is. But they need to be given a lot of deference because really it's just more like tone or concept is what the C-level folks should be proving. They shouldn't be in the trenches trying to bang out, a 15 article campaign, on umbrellas. That shouldn't be where they're at, or 10 things to do in Ibiza. That they shouldn't be involved in those aspects of it. But you find a lot of them try to be, they try to
Yeah.
get involved in that, and it becomes very problematic.
Mm. Yeah, I've noticed that as well. It's like the balance of awareness slash knowledge and training is not yet ironed out. And I think it goes back to what you mentioned earlier with SEO not being still not a, people don't get degrees in SEO. And because of that, there is no official way of carrying out SEO, which is very, it's good and not necessarily the best, the best thing for the industry. But yeah, it's a strange one because I've spoken with a number of people who say, yes, SEO is a module or an aspect of something bigger being a marketing degree. And when you ask them about, okay, how much SEO is involved within this marketing degree, it's a very small percentage. It's literally just like an essay or a course or literally just a topic within an entire 2 to 4 year degree. And I don't think there is a way to sort of like standardize it across the board because it's so wide and vast and moves so quickly. I find that the next area, what I believe will be the next important area of SEO, which is standardizing a knowledge graph across businesses, is still, even to this day, not necessarily picked up by a lot of SEOs. So that again is dependent on where a business is within their SEO journey. If a business is just starting out, then they may not even consider having a knowledge panel. So it's a very interesting industry, which is for us is great because it keeps us in business and it continues to expand the business. But it's an area that I'm very interested in exploring. Now,
Well, but I find funny that you mentioned that the SEO is like one module in an entire marketing degree, and yet people are coming out and getting hired and getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be an SEO. It's like it's kind of funny that I guess that's where it kind of comes back to the performance, right? You have to be able to show that you can do it,
yeah,
and if you can show you can do it, the degrees don't really matter too much.
Yeah, yeah. You have another another thing that jumped out to mind when I had a look at your site is training that you have. You mentioned why 50% of companies fail at SEO. I found this to be a very interesting and eye-catching topic. Tell me more about this training.
Oh, that's our marketing funnel. Don't click on that. You click on that, we have you forever. You can't. You'll just have to buy our services. There's no escape. Yeah, that's actually one of our more successful lead funnels because what what I found is my business partner and we have a pretty similar idea in terms of we never want to say like, if you don't use our services, you're going to die, right? Like we are the only provider that can possibly do anything. Because that's silly. But what we do want to say is like, hey, we have this point of view. This is how we do SEO. We are transparent. We test, we run math and we show you what we're doing. And if you like those things, then you should work with us. And so like when we do like a lead funnel like that, we're trying to give some education, just a little bit. And really it's more educating, like this is how we do SEO. This is why this is a better way to do it. And then if people get through the end of that and they like those concepts, then they usually come in quite warm because they're not kind of speaking our language. Like the way that we do SEO makes sense to them. And it's something that they want to try. But the reason that people fail in SEO is really lack of implementation is the biggest thing. They've got, all the ideas in the world, but they don't do any of it. And, doing mediocre SEO is way better than doing no SEO. Having a plan. It's amazing to me, even like people that have agencies, how they don't have a plan. Like they don't. We work in like 3-month sprints, so at any point we know like where we are in that sprint, and we know what the plan is pretty well laid out for that 3 months. It's not all the nitty gritty, and things do change, of course, but the idea is like we're here and we want to get to there, so this is how we're going to do it over the next 3 months. And it's startling to me that how many people don't have a plan like that, and even some people that are using agencies for their SEO today, they're just going month to month without any kind of cohesive strategy, and that's never going to be successful or a way to be successful in SEO.
No. The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that the difference maker with whether one is successful in SEO or not comes down to their ability to implement stuff. I think the implementation is the difference maker with businesses, and if they can nail that area for their SEO, their website, their business, they will do so much better very quickly as well.
And the thing I would add to that is the grind. So the idea of being able to implement and grind, like knowing that like, hey, we're off by this little bit. Now we can let it go. No, you grind, you get it that little bit done. You do it how it's supposed to be done. You do all the things like, oh, that's so insignificant, but if it only takes 5 minutes, grind, get it done. It's easy to let those things go because they're insignificant or they don't matter. But in the end, when you've got 50 of those little insignificant things, all of a sudden it becomes a significant thing. And so kind of sticking to the plan, implementation, and then grinding it out and getting it done. That's a recipe for success in SEO. Most people don't have that.
Exactly. If I were to ask you how the average client views SEO, what would you say?
People that we talk to understand its value, understand that like we're not like in any of the sales calls or any of like we do like a fit call to make sure before we do a proposal. Any of those, we're not convincing anybody that they need SEO at this point. They all know they need it. At this point, they've got an SEO provider that they're not very happy with, or they've been doing it internally and they need external support, or they want to go entirely external. That's usually where they're at. So they know the value of it. They want to do it. They're looking for another approach, or they're looking for guidance.
Within the industry, what would you say we SEOs need to do better for clients?
I would say the biggest thing is transparency. A lot of people, as you were saying before, they think it's mystical and magical. And the reason that they think that is because they probably haven't seen what's been done. I was talking with a buddy of mine from law school. He goes, I was just put in charge of the marketing team. And I say, I'm not a marketer. And he goes, I don't even know what questions to ask these SEO guys. Yeah. He goes, I know that when I search in terms that I think are important, we show up for sure. We're number 2, we're number 3, somewhere number 1. That's great. And they're going up against all these massive firms. He's like, I'm really happy with these results, but I don't even know like what they're doing. I have no idea how they're doing it. What should I even ask in the first place? And I thought that was pretty interesting because their SEO team, is doing a great job. they're getting the rankings, they're getting the traffic. He's like, we can see conversions are coming in, and it's from organic traffic. That's all great. He's like, but I honestly don't know what is happening, and so that shouldn't be. And so even if you're being successful, you should still be very transparent. And anything that you do to a site as an SEO, you should be able to show the client that you're doing. Now, you should actually have permission to do it beforehand. And so, there are things that get outside of Google's guidelines that people do like to do. If that's the way you do SEO, you have to be transparent with your clients that that's how you're doing it, so they understand the risks involved, or they understand, how things could go wrong and what that means when they go wrong. But I'm fearful that a reason that a lot of people, they're not transparent is because they're not really doing much. I think that's what it is most of the time, that they don't actually even know what to do. And so they're trying to do these smoke screens of oh, we're doing all this work, when really they don't really know what work to do. So they're just trying to, they're trying to keep the job, right? They're trying to keep the client. And as a result, they can't be transparent, because if the client realized they didn't do anything, then they'd be fired. So I'm fearful that that's why there isn't a lot of transparency. It's just people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think thankfully the days of some agencies being very not forthcoming is coming to an end. I think these days the unknown area of SEO is becoming very, very thin. And I think in the beginning, or the early days, let's say 10 plus years ago, that was very, very wide. I mean, people didn't know what they didn't know about SEO, so it was very easy to fool them, especially when it came to link building. Remember, in the early days, link building was synonymous with SEO. That's pretty much all agencies did up until Penguin. It was all link building, and nowadays brands are very much aware of the value of links. They understand the whole area of link building. So thankfully, all of that has died down. Thanks also to the Penguin updates, but it's still the whole being non-transparent with clients is never really sat well with me, because I think it's because I have a bit of I have client side agency experience, so I understand both areas, and I've always been someone who's more client focused, because I understand how things are internally from a branding point of view. I understand that the person who's an SEO person internally might not be the only SEO might not be the only thing that they work on, and they have an entire uphill battle just to have an SEO strategy implemented. Not even a strategy, just a recommendation might take them literally weeks upon weeks to have implemented. So it's a very tough thing being in-house. You actually have to make recommendations come to life and battle pretty much all departments and teams who may or may not like SEO.
That's right.
If you were to think back to when you started in SEO, if you were to give yourself an advice, let's say Carl 10 plus years ago, what would you give that early SEO Carl who was coming up? What advice would you give him?
Well, I tell him it's going to work out pretty well. Don't worry. It's going to be
doing what you're doing.
Life is going to be pretty good. Just keep plugging away. Life is going to be pretty good. Because those are some interesting times back then. Really when you're hustling, Yeah. Fortunately, I always had the fallback plan. I could go back being a lawyer, and that's not the worst fallback plan of all time. But just desperately not wanting to do that. The only thing that I wish I was more strong on now is some of the technical SEO side of things, and more on the understanding of how search engines like to work. I have a pretty decent understanding, but how search engines like to work in terms of looking at a web page and how they process things on the web page. I do wish I had a little bit more knowledge there, because that would be fun, because there's a lot that you can play with that's pretty interesting, and things you can get into. And I personally don't have that knowledge, so I have to rely on other people for those when you really want to kind of dig into how a page is being displayed, for example. And so
Right.
maybe I would have done a little more work on that to get some of that knowledge to get into some other aspects of technical SEO.
And why do you continue within the industry? What keeps you going?
The money's too good. The money's too good. You can't get away. You can't get away. Yeah, this is where we're at. I mean, I mean, this life is way too good. Are you kidding? Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's almost 3 PM. I'm on the show with you, which is excellent. I mean, it's an afternoon, right? And then at 4, I've got an SEO meetup. So in Chiang Mai, where I live, we do a weekly casual meetup where a bunch of top level SEOs and beginning SEOs as well. We get together. It's just a casual hangout. We'll talk SEO. We'll talk business. We'll talk whatever. But a once a week meetup with like top level people is phenomenal. And I'm going to do that at 4 PM. Like either. I don't know many law firms would be very pleased with me leaving at 4 PM to go have a couple beers,
It sounds like you definitely made the right decision going the SEO route rather than the lawyer route. So what's ahead for HV SEO, let's say for the rest of the year?
We're still in a period of really solid growth, and so we're looking to capitalize on that growth. And we've recently moved into we have an office in Jamaica, and kind of trying to get into the Caribbean market, and then looking at some strategic partnerships where with like web design and development, that kind of stuff, to cross-offer services or maybe expand our services. Initially, I'm really glad that we were narrowed down into just SEO, and SEO will still be our focus, but we see opportunity now as a larger company to grow, to add on other services or other departments. And so we're exploring those options.
I think of Jamaica, I think cruises, I think travel industry. I think, oh my God, the potential.
And you've got so many different nations. It's a very large area with a lot of different nations. So yeah, could be very good.
Awesome. Cal, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people find you online?
KyleRoof.com. That's the easiest one. All my stuff is there. You can see upcoming or past podcasts. This podcast, or is this a podcast or YouTube show? It's a podcast, yeah.
Podcast, yeah.
Both.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
So
and yeah. But yeah, so I put links to like these types of shows on there so people can see that. My software, link to my software is on there. Link to my courses are on there. That kind of stuff. So all is there. That's easy. KyleRoof.com.
Awesome. I'll have the link to the site in the description. Thank you so much, Cal. Have a brilliant day. Enjoy your catch ups, your meetings, and we'll
awesome.
catch up again another time. Thank you very much for being on.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye now.